scared to do.
Mhm.
Not just D&D, but D&D's, the one you think about the most. So fictionally, the technospheres, if anyone who's played Final Fantasy VII, they're materia. It's just materia. It's straight up materia.
It's straight up, unapologetically, actually materia.
It's materia. I will read the description of it. Technospheres are crystals in which energy from the worldwide stream of souls has coalesced and stabilized. When placed within specially constructed equipment, these gems react and alter its characteristics, perhaps even granting new powers to the user. Fucking materia.
Mm-hmm.
It says the optional Technospheres rules deeply modify many of the mechanics present in the core rulebook with the goal of replacing part of the complexity instead of merely adding to it. So literally exactly what I said. If you use these rules, all player characters must follow them without exceptions. And the reason for that is because they change things so much that if only one person is using it, it's going to be very weird and very confusing. And could you do it? Yes, but you're not going to want to. It's just deeply not recommended. If you really want to try, I suppose knock yourself out, but I definitely wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either.
So you have two types of technospheres. You have memeospheres, I think that's how you say it.
Memospheres.
Memo. There's an N in there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like mnemonic.
Yeah. Whatever. Memeospheres are, so lore-wise, are generated by the accumulation of thoughts, emotion, and knowledge present within the stream of souls and respond to the stimulus of new events and experience. In gameplay terms, each memosphere is associated with a class and grants its user access to some of the corresponding skills. Then you have hoplospheres, spheres like orb, not spear like pokey, are quite literally clots of soul energy tied to a specific element, such as fire or earth, or a concept, such as healing or casting of spells. In gameplay terms, hoplospheres reinforce items in which they are placed, or the abilities of those who equip them. So basically you slot your materia onto your equipment and it gives you class levels and different equipment abilities based on the thing you're holding. There's some stuff, the game also talks a little bit before it gets into the mechanical bits, how you can handle technospheres in lore, but who gives a shit about that? We need to talk about how they function as a mechanic here.
We're looking for mechanics, baby.
It's all about the gameplay. So the only types of equipment, so if you use technospheres, the following equipment applies. The only types of equipment are the following: custom weapons, custom armor, custom accessories, plus weapons and armor modules for the pilots. So you can't use base equipment. You have to use custom equipment if you're using this mechanic. Which, quite frankly, to me means fuck the basic equipment, because why would you not use the technosphere mechanic? I don't know about you.
There's reasons, because because you're stuck with custom gear, you completely lose the ability to use one-handed weapons.
No, I know. I'm saying the technosphere mechanic is so cool that I would never want to play the techno fantasy. I would never use this supplement and not use it.
No. Okay, I see what you're saying. No, I completely agree. It's there. You should use it. Yeah.
Ergo, basic equipment in this supplement book basically doesn't exist.
Completely pointless, yeah.
Yeah, which is funny because the basic equipment is also not listed out in this book. So
it's just straight up not. Yeah.
Any other equipment simply cannot exist. For this reason, you should ignore the dual shield breaker skill from the Guardian and turn the magic spheres from the Tinkerer class into an advanced Magitech benefit, removing the Magi Cannon completely. The specifics of that don't matter. The point is there's a couple of abilities that straight up will not work on certain classes. So just be aware. Custom weapons and armor cannot have qualities outside of those detailed in the chart below, which offer slots for the technospheres. Basically, they can't have qualities of their own. The only qualities they can have is whatever qualities the spheres are granting to them. On the other hand, accessories and rare modules for pilots follow the normal rules for rare items and cannot have the qualities listed below, which is to say you can't put the spheres in accessories or equipment modules, which equipment modules are a pilot unique mechanic. In order to lighten the GM's workload, NPCs cannot have the use equipment skill nor use technospheres. Their abilities may be described as coming from weapons, armor, or technospheres, but they're not treated as such in terms of rules. To compensate for this disadvantage, NPCs belonging to the humanoid species receive an additional skill. Basically, don't put technospheres on enemies because it's too much fucking work. It's not worth it. Just describe them as having the technospheres, and that's how they do their stuff. Like, don't make it too complicated for no reason.
Yeah, like, I feel like really this is where I got to step in and really specify. If you're like, no, but I don't.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's really not worth. These technospheres are fucking complex, dog. Like,
there's a lot going on here. It's not worth it.
I had to reread them about twice before I was like, I think I got it. And even then, it's, I think I got it.
Yeah. So the quality that the weapon has is basically you can increase the amount of technospheres that the item contains. That's the long and short of it. Slot A costs you nothing, gives you 1 technosphere slot. This quality is automatically present on all weapons and armor, which is to say everything can equip 1 technosphere. Then you can pay to add slots and to add, so if you do a slot beta, 2 technosphere slots, a maximum of 1 memosphere. Slot Y thingy.
So yeah, it's
Epsilon?
alpha, beta, epsilon, delta.
Okay.
It took me, brother. For delta, I did, because for delta, I'm used to the triangle. But I was like, I had to go deep in the memory banks for that one, dog.
Yeah. So the upgraded versions offers 3 techno slots, 2 memospheres max, and then 4 techno slots, 2 memospheres max. The 4 slot option is only for weapons. So how does it change character creation? Each player character is created at level 5 using the normal rules, but you must distribute those levels among 3 classes. You have to have 3. And you might say, why do I have to have 3? Well, because those are the only 3 you're getting.
Yeah.
The 3 classes chosen this way are considered innate classes for that PC. Upon creation, each PC receives a permanent increase of 5 HP and 5 mind points. They also gain the ability to equip martial melee weapons and ranged weapons. So because you're using this mechanic that utilizes the custom weapons, everyone can use martial weapons. Don't worry about that. Each player also receives a level 1 memosphere of a class of their choice upon creation. So then it says, okay, so how does the advancement work? When a player gains a level, they increase their character level by 1 and invest 1 level into an innate class or into a memosphere of their choice, chosen from those available to the group. Over the course of this advancement, characters may invest levels in their innate classes as per their normal rules, but cannot acquire new classes, not even after mastering all 3 innate classes. So effectively, your base classes cap out at level 30, because you can level them all up to 10. You can't add any more. All additional classes are going to come from your memospheres, because having a memosphere equipped on a piece of equipment gives you class levels, which also means if you remove the equipment, you lose those class levels.
Alternatively, you can sort of hot swap classes, which is really fucking cool, dude. You can, did you watch the fucking Final Fantasy 14 Shadowbringers trailer and see Meteor hot swap classes and be like, I want to do that in a game so fucking bad, dog, you don't understand.
Here you go.
You can do it now, baby.
Yep.
It's so sick. That's the first thing I thought about. I was like, I can finally live the dream. I can live my dream and do the weeb stick wiggle.
The characters' max HP and mind points, as well as their attribute die size, increase at levels 20 and 40, and any other effects whose power varies based on levels are calculated using the character's level, which is thus separate from the total level in innate classes and equipped memospheres. So like, you have your maximum level increases, but your innate classes are capped. So like, if you're level 50 and you're in prison, so you don't have any equipment on you, so you don't have your memospheres, mechanically you're like still level 50, but you don't have any of those other class skills you would normally get, is essentially how that works.
Yeah, so like in D&D terms, if you were level 20 but your classes were tied to your gear, you'd still have your proficiency at 6, you'd still have the ability to cast 9th level spells. You just wouldn't have those 9th level spells because your wizards, your wizard ring is in another room.
Oh yeah. Then it says beyond level 50, a character who's already reached level 50 cannot further increase their character level, but they can receive XP and invest any levels obtained this way into innate classes and memospheres. That's base rule stuff. So equipping technospheres. Technospheres can be freely placed within any weapon or armor fitted with the proper slots. Anyone who equips the item in question receives the benefits of all the technospheres within it. Placing technospheres in an item is a task that demands common attention, so it can't be done during a conflict. The same piece of equipment may contain both memosphere and hoplospheres, provided you stay within the same slot. For an instance, a beta slot can contain two technospheres at most, only one of which can be a memosphere. Which is to say, like, you can't. You can mix and match them, assuming you have room for it.
Yeah. You need your attunement slots for your gear.
Yeah. An item cannot contain 2 or more memospheres that share 1 or more skills with each other. So you can't like stack them.
Yeah.
The character may never equip an item containing a memosphere that grants 1 or more skills they already have access to, be it through an innate class or another memosphere slotted into a different item they have equipped. Again, you can't double up. Some hoplospheres require and occupy more than 1 slot. You can, this I thought was cool, you can place 2 or more identical hoplospheres into the same item, which may cause a coagulation effect. So you can double up the equipment ones, and they will actually get stronger effects if you like add more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Each memosphere, so this is talking about the memosphere specifically, the ones that give you class levels, are tied to a specific class. For the sake of simplicity and balance, it is recommended you limit the memospheres to the following classes: Chanter, Chimerist, Commander, Dancer, Elementalist, Entropist, Esper, Fury, Guardian, Lore Master, Orator, Rogue, Sharpshooter, Spiritist, and Weapon Master. I'm not sure. I didn't look at the list super carefully, so I'm not sure why he went with that list specifically, but basically he's saying don't use the other classes. I assume probably because there's wacky woohoo broken builds you could do if you do. Would be my guess.
A bit. So they specifically call out that you should not let memospheres, technospheres be used for things like Arcanist, because Arcanist has an intrinsic tie to the universe and the lore of the universe, so that should always be special magic and should not be commoditized.
Ah, okay, I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
For the other ones, I don't know, but they specifically did call out Arcanist somewhere here.
Right, okay.
Before we go on, I do want to call out Mrs. Sniper on the page above. Just like, there's a character, you can tell she's a sniper, she's got a big sniper rifle and a little chest full of technospheres, and she's like picking one up and about to throw it over her back, like, don't need that one, don't need that one, don't need that one, like don't need that one.
She got there's a bunch of them like on the floor, and she's pulling them out of a chest, like she just can't find the correct one.
Yeah, she's like, I know there's a sharpshooter here somewhere.
Yeah.
I know I put it in this box. Who touched my sharpshooter?
When a character invests a level into a memosphere, that memosphere develops a new skill of the corresponding class, or increases the skill level of pre-existing class as you would when you normally level up. A memosphere may contain 5 levels at most. Once it reaches level 5, that memosphere is mastered and develops a heroic skill of the corresponding class or a generic heroic skill. The requirements of the chosen heroic skill must be fully met for that specific memosphere. As long as a PC has a weapon or armor containing memospheres equipped, they gain access to all the skills inside of it. As soon as the item is unequipped, they lose all the benefits and abilities, including, for instance, spells learned through the Chimerist memosphere. Those spells are part of the memosphere, not the character. So if you drop that shit and it falls down a well, tough shit.
Bye-bye. That's L's dog.
Memospheres do not grant access to the free benefits of their classes, nor do they allow characters to start projects or perform rituals. Characters who wish to obtain these abilities must do it through your innate classes. So you have to be a little more picky choosy with your innate classes if you're using this, because there's some limitations on what the memospheres have access to. And it says it's a good idea to use a memosphere sheet in order to keep track of each memosphere's advancement and make it easy for the group to swap them between different characters. Which is great. You just like hand someone your gun and they just obtain 15 class levels that they didn't have before.
Yeah.
And then you got the Hoplospheres. I'll be honest, I kind of find the Hoplospheres more interesting. The like character level swapping bit, I almost don't care about as much.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the equipment modification vibe, like maybe a little bit more, you know?
Interesting. Okay.
So for Hoplospheres replace the normal system of granting qualities to items and allow player characters to frequently reconfigure their equipment. When placed within a piece of equipment, a Hoplosphere infuses it with its power in a way that is unique to the specific type of Hoplosphere. Many Hoplospheres feature a coagulation effect, which are added to the Hoplosphere's normal effect when identical Hoplospheres are placed together. I'm pretty sure this is also a mechanic in 7, where you could put duplicate materia to double up their effectiveness.
Yes.
Yeah. So Technospheres, and then it says, so how should you divvy these up? How you dishing these out? Technospheres as rewards. Technospheres work best when the group has a good quantity and variety of them available. Because of this, the basic premise is that these crystals spontaneously appear in the game world, so that it feels natural to stumble upon some during a session, such as a Fury Memosphere being generated by the wrath of a rampaging monster, for instance. In other words, you could like run into someone who, you know, run into the monster, you fight the monster, it dies, and then it disappears into the magical soul network dust, and then it drops the memosphere where it was, you know. For the sake of determining rewards or selling price, each Technosphere is worth approximately 500 Zenith, and each already present level inside a memosphere increases its value by 300. And then it gives a big list, well, that's 2 pages, but there's a list of Hoplospheres, ready to use Hoplospheres that you can check out yourself. And then it gives a couple of optional rules if you would like to maybe not play with exactly how they're described. When the rules governing Technospheres have been tested and proved to be fairly robust, the rules governing Technospheres, they can require some adjustments, as is often the case when an optional rule has such a profound impact. I think it's very funny that the author of the game is not just the fact that he's like aware of how much it affects the style, like the play, but also the fact that he's calling it out multiple times. I thought was funny.
Okay, he's like, all right, Holmes, let me level up with you. This shit wild.
It's crazy. You know, it's gonna mess with your game. Be aware.
I really appreciate that. I
do too. I just thought it was funny.
That this has been truly tried and tested, and there's like you are getting yourself into some shit. So we think you should do it. We think it's worth it.
It's cool, but be aware.
But it's some shit. So just be aware. You know, like I really appreciate that as a game master who has tried some shit and then got really in over his head.
Yeah. So
appreciate you, Holmes.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's good advice to put in your game. So it gives a couple of options to adjust how they work. So first you have integrated Technospheres. If you use this option, which is especially appropriate for mutants and pilots, The player character may place a number of memospheres equal to or lower than 1 plus the PC's level divided by 15 inside a device, an armband, or some other contraption that offers a narrative justification to ensure that the class in those memospheres remain available. However, the character cannot equip items with the circly thingy slot, and can only use their equipped item technosphere slots for hoplospheres. So basically what it's saying is, because the mutant and the pilot may often be in situations where they're not carrying a weapon, especially with the mutant, which can fight with their appendages, give them some sort of like, they wear a necklace that has the technospheres equipped or whatever, so they don't lose it. Just level things out a little bit. I don't know if I would or would not use that. If it became a problem, I might consider it, but I don't know. Then it gives a suggestion of using only memospheres. If the group decides to use memospheres but would rather keep the normal equipment rules, they may implement a variant of the rule described above. Each PC can maintain a number of active memospheres equal to or lower than 1 plus the PC's level divided by 15, and equipment simply follows the standard rules in the core rulebook. In this case, hoplospheres don't exist. All types of equipment are once again available to the PCs, and the PCs no longer gain the ability to equip all martial and melee weapons at character creation. So that one's like, if you want to do the character level stuff, but not the equipment modification stuff, I don't see a situation where I would ever want to do memospheres only, personally. I don't know about you.
I could see a hoplospheres only run.
That's what I was going to say, yes. I would do hoplospheres only, but not memospheres only.
Yeah.
The next rule it mentions is, if the group wishes to customize equipment with hoplospheres, but without tying class advancement to the memospheres, you may apply all technosphere rules for equipment, but the final slot with the circly thingy quality is no longer... Yeah. The quality is no longer available. In this case, memospheres don't exist, and player characters do not increase their maximum HP or MP by 5 during character creation. They do gain the ability to equip martial, melee, and ranged weapons, however. So yeah, that one's like, yeah, using hoplospheres only, where you modify your equipment but don't necessarily tie your class levels to it. I could definitely see a game where I might want to do that, but doing the one where I only do the class like the memosphere class level stuff, I don't know. I don't see a scenario where I'd want to do that.
I don't really either, frankly.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea. It's an interesting idea, but ultimately I'm gonna value the hot swapping like equipment. Yeah. Especially if I and it's a situation where you have to choose. It's like, well, I might have a really interesting idea for my character. Maybe I'm not gonna use the memospheres as much.
Right. And then it gives us the sample hoplospheres. I keep wanting to say holospheres, but there's a P in there. Hoplosphere, like Hoplon. So hoplospheres marked with an asterisk can only be placed in weapons, never armor. So some of them, there's 60. It starts at 11, so there's 55 of them or something. There's a lot in there. There's a lot. It's a fairly big table. The same weapon cannot obtain hoplospheres that are tied to different damage types. For instance, a weapon can contain 3 toxic hoplospheres, but not a toxic holosphere and a voltic hoplosphere. This specific limitation does not apply to armor. So basically, you can have a weapon that does poison damage, but you can't have a weapon that does poison damage, bolt damage, and fire damage. And then it says, these are obviously only a few examples. The GM is free to create more using these as a reference. Players may also propose some spheres through their survey or wish list, which is a thing in the core rulebook. So just to, I'm not, like I said, there's a bunch of them, but just to kind of give you an idea of how they work. So like the first one it mentions is agile. You treat your dexterity as if it were 1 die size higher. This hoplosphere occupies 2 slots. So you have a gun, it has 2 slots. You put the agile sphere in there. Both of them are taken up, but your dexterity die goes higher as long as you have that gun on you. The next one it mentions then is Arctic, which is you gain resistance to ice damage. If this item is in a weapon, all damage it deals becomes ice. If you put 2 of the Arctic sphere in the same item, you gain immunity to ice damage. If you put 3 of the sphere in the same weapon, any ice damage you deal ignores resistances. When you deal damage, you may choose its type, and when you deal damage, you may change its type to ice. So if you want to really go in on a specific, like, this is my ice rifle that does ice damage, you can double and triple down. There's like a whole I really love the coagulation effects. I think those are very fun. I don't know about you.
No, I mean, I thought you were going to continue that thought. No, the coagulation effects are super cool. I really like that you are rewarded for experimenting, but you are also rewarded for doubling and tripling down.
Yeah, going it hard. Like, I really like this particular idea.
And it's the kind of JRPG shit that you want to do. Like, that's the stuff that most people go to art JRPGs for, is like the cool mix and match customization. It just feels right.
Correct. A cool one, the draining effect. When you hit 1 or more creatures with this weapons, you may recover 3 HP and 3 mind points.
That is pretty cool.
It's a fun one. Gladiator, this weapon deals 2 extra damage to humanoids. If you coagulate 2 of them, you gain a +1 bonus to defense. Nightly, you gain 2 extra damage to monsters. So there's like there's a whole bunch of them. I'm not gonna, again, it's a long list, not gonna go through the whole thing, but lots of fun mix and matches you can do there. And as the book says, you can make your own right after. Like, once you've seen a couple of these, it's pretty easy to be like, oh, I bet I could do this or that. You just want to be careful making them too powerful, but that's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then there's a little section where it talks about so the game has Technosphere tracking sheets because the game designer came up with all of these rules and then realized, he's like, man, this is probably going to be a little hard to keep track of. Maybe I should make some cards to help with these.
Yeah.
So you can actually go on the Fabula Ultima website, and there's cards that you can print out where you can put all of your Technosphere information, so you can keep track of how you're like hot swapping your equipment or whatever.
I did not know that. That's actually really fucking cool.
Oh, what? They're on the website?
Yeah, I didn't know.
There's a lot of shit on the website that's like resources to use.
Huh.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of sheets to help you with that. And then that's the end of the Technosphere bit. I mean, I'm sure it's apparent by the way I'm talking, like, it's a fucking sick mechanic. I love it. Big fan. And I like that you're still playing Fabula Ultima, right? Like, you're the base, the core, the heart of the rules is still there, but it's different. This Technosphere mechanic makes it different enough that you feel like you're playing something new and fresh, as opposed to just playing a supplement of the same game. Like, it is a supplement of the game, but it feels interesting enough. It gives it enough of that different vibe that you have something to really chew on.
Yeah, like I said, it fundamentally is the same game, but will have a fundamentally different experience.
Yeah. Fundamentally,
yeah.
And then we have the new classes. So,